What is up, everyone? It is your boy Razorbacks Roy, and welcome back to another SEC schedule prediction. Next up, we are doing the South Carolina Gamecocks, a team that went 7-6 last year with a bowl win over North Carolina. What's in store for South Carolina this season? They're getting former Heisman hopeful Spencer Rattler, who didn't really have a good season. But can Spencer Rattler bounce back after a disappointing year? Well, let's look at this schedule. Will Spencer Rattler bounce back and give South Carolina a good record? Let's look at this schedule. So, this schedule, not really much all that tough. Not really all that tough. They start out against Georgia State. I mean, Georgia State is from the Sun Belt, and I think South Carolina will get the win right there. Honestly, you shouldn't really lose to Georgia State unless you're Tennessee. Then they go on the road at Arkansas. Now, this is where the toughest part of the schedule goes. They get an early test on the road at Arkansas. The Razorbacks are bringing in a lot of talent at the defense. They're losing a lot of production from last year's team, but they're bringing in some key transfers that might help them be good this season. For example, you got Jadon Haselwood coming in from Oklahoma, which is Spencer Rattler's teammate. Former teammate, Jadon Haselwood coming into Arkansas. So Spencer Rattler facing off against his former teammate. And then you get and then they get Dwight McGlothern, Latavius Brini, and Matt Randers, and they're getting all this talent. And then Bumper Pool's coming back. Bumper Pool is coming back. Also, the dual threat quarterback KJ Jefferson is coming back. So this Arkansas team is going to be loaded with talent. And honestly, I think they just have too much firepower. I'm going to give the South Carolina Gamecocks a loss right there. I think Arkansas will take that one. They just have too much firepower, and I think they'll start off 1-1. And then they head on the road and then they go back home to face off Georgia Bulldogs. Obviously, Georgia just has too much firepower, but people are saying this is a trap game for Georgia. People are saying this is a trap game for Georgia, but I don't see that. I think South Carolina will suffer a loss, start off 1-2. But then they get two easy wins over Charlotte and South Carolina State. Honestly, I think you have more of a chance of losing to Georgia State than Charlotte and South Carolina State. So I think that's what's going to happen. And then they get Kentucky on the road. Kentucky is bringing in a lot of firepower next year, and I think it will be a loss right there. And then they get Texas A&M at home. I think Texas A&M is bringing in a lot of talent. They're young, and you know what? I'm going to predict an upset here. I think South Carolina is going to upset the Aggies and their home turf. South Carolina fans will go crazy, and they will go wild. And that's how South Carolina is now 4 wins. They have 4 wins. And now they get Missouri. And they get a win right there. Then they go on the road at Vanderbilt. They get a win. That means they're bowl eligible yet again. But then here's the 3 toughest games of the season. They get Florida, Tennessee, and Clemson. Obviously, I think you lose to Florida. I think you lose to Tennessee too. And then they get Clemson. You know what? Here's the thing. I'm not picking you to beat Clemson unless you prove that you can beat Clemson. I thought you were going to beat Clemson lately in the year because how bad Clemson was performing offensively, and somehow they still blew you out 30-0. So I'm not expecting you to beat Clemson until you can prove that you can beat Clemson. And that means South Carolina will finish off 6-6, 3-5. That means a 3-5 stretch in the SEC. Obviously, you know what? Change my mind. This is a tough schedule. I think South Carolina has the firepower to be good, but this is just too much of a tough schedule. You get Arkansas, you get Georgia, you get Kentucky, you get all these teams. Florida might be tough. Tennessee will be tough. And Clemson will be tough. This is a brutal schedule overall. Except for exceptions for you get Texas A&M at home, which is how I give you an upset there. You get Missouri and Vanderbilt, which are going to be 2 easy games. But other than that, this is a really tough. This is pretty much of a brutal SEC schedule, if you ask me. And I think South Carolina will finish 6-6, and they will go back to a bowl game, but they will go. And that's not going to be a good year, but they will go to a bowl game.